All right, I guess we will get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. This webinar is entitled Water Efficiency, Household Hints on Saving Water. It is put on by the City of Superior Environmental Services Division as part of our Environmental Matters webinar series. It is the 10th webinar in our Environmental Matters webinar series, and if you are attending live today, you will be entered into a drawing for a compost bin if you're a City of Superior resident. So anyone from the City of Superior rather, who attends a webinar between June 1st and November 30th will gain one entry per time that they watch the webinar into the drawing. So we already gave away a rain barrel, now we're doing a compost bin. I'm Jillian and I will be presenting the webinar. So let's get started. So first of all, why do we need to be water efficient? Why is it important? Well, it's important because less than 1% of Earth's water is available for human use. So about 70% of the Earth is water, and over 97% of the water on Earth is salt water. So there's not that much left for us to use. And that seems kind of surprising as people who live in the Great Lakes or right outside of Lake Superior. The idea of water efficiency sometimes might seem a little needless, like it's not necessarily necessary because we have so much water up here. But it is for several reasons. So first of all, the average American household uses 320 gallons of water per day. Our population is increasing and we can't make more water. So even though we have this great big lake just outside our doors, our population is increasing and there's no way for us to make that water again. So there are more and more people who are using the same amount of water. So that can really use up a lot of water, especially if everyone's using this 320 gallons per day in their household. The other reason to be water efficient is to save money. It's great because if you work to be water efficient, you're not only helping relieve the stress on the municipal water supply and on our lakes, but you're also saving yourself some money. The less you use, typically, the less money you're spending on it. So it's a win-win, really. So we'll talk about some ways to save water around your home. So saving water in the yard. So about 30% of home water use is outdoors, and more than half of the water that's used outside is for lawns and gardens, as opposed to things like washing your car. Much of the water that's used outdoors is actually wasted. So about 50% of the water used outdoors, or the water used for lawns and gardens, is wasted. So I just have a few different tips for how to save some water and subsequently money in your yard. So first of all, plant native plants instead of grass. Native plants are usually less water intensive than a grass lawn. In places that don't have a lot of water, like desert climates, a lot of times they'll have what's called xeriscaping, where it's not at all water intensive plants. So plants that don't really need a lot of water at all. So water that's adapted to their plants that are adapted to their climate, things like cacti and stuff like that. In areas that is the native vegetation, some people are choosing to do that in their yard instead of trying to have a grass lawn in some place where there's really not that much water. So that's sort of the idea behind native plants. Up here, obviously, things like cacti aren't really practical, but could do the same thing with our native plants. Another thing is to spread mulch around the plants so the moisture is retained. Don't water your lawn daily. So contrary to what a lot of people may believe, and the fact that we have sprinkler systems that are often set for a certain time every single day, you don't actually have to water your lawn daily. If you're walking on your lawn and it feels pretty spongy, then you probably don't need to water it that day. Another thing is to water early in the morning. And the reason for this is because if you're watering in the middle of the day, most of that's going to evaporate because the sun's at its highest and its hottest. So you don't want to do it in the middle of the day. Some people think that watering at night might be good, but watering at night actually makes the grass stay wet for too long, and so that can cause problems for your lawn. So watering in the morning is the best bet. Another thing about watering your lawn, don't water when it's really windy because a lot of that water is going to blow off and evaporate. Definitely don't water your lawn when it's raining, or if it's just rained, it's really unnecessary and a waste of the water. Another thing is to use a rain barrel for your lawn and garden. So what a rain barrel is a cistern that holds water. You can hook it up to your gutters and it'll catch water from your roof, which you can then use to water your lawn and garden. And we had a webinar about using rain barrels earlier this year. I believe it was in April. So yeah, you can use that for watering your lawn and garden. Plants like the water from rain barrels because it's warmer, it's oxygenated, and it's soft water. So it works really well for watering your plants. And that way you're not using water from the municipal water supply. You're not having to pay for the water that you're using to water outside. You could also build a rain garden. This doesn't really save water necessarily, but it does prevent stormwater pollution by slowing down some of the rainwater and trapping it in your yard so not as much is running off into the storm drain. Another thing you can do, especially if you have a bigger yard, is use irrigation controllers. So what irrigation controllers do is they take stock of the weather conditions and like the soil moisture and things like that, and that's how they decide whether or not to water. So if it's really dry and there's no rain coming, then your lawn will be watered. But if it's just rained or it's going to rain or things like that, it won't water your lawn. So things like that, especially if you have a bigger yard, like I said. Use a broom instead of a hose to clean driveways and sidewalks. So this is good because, it's easy to clean up with a broom. It's probably easier with a hose, but that uses a lot of water. And also, when you're using a hose to clean off your driveway and sidewalk, all that water with all the dirt and oil and whatever else is on your driveway is going to go down your driveway into the street and down into the storm drains, which for the most part end up in the lakes and in the streams without being cleaned at the wastewater treatment plant. Wash your vehicles on the lawn instead of in the driveway. This is more for a water quality improvement rather than water efficiency. So if you're washing your vehicles on the lawn, that water is going to sink into the ground rather than if you're washing it on the driveway, it's all again going to run off into the storm drain. So like I said, this isn't really for saving water, that last tip. It's more for preventing water pollution, but it's still good to know. So next we'll move on to the kitchen. Saving water in the kitchen. So we use about 8% of our water in the kitchen. So a few things you can do. First of all, store water in a glass in the refrigerator to keep it cool rather than running the faucet until it's cool. So you've probably before gone to the faucet, wanted some cold water, so you turn the faucet on and let it run until it gets cold enough that you are willing to drink it. But a better way to do it is to turn it on, fill it up right away before it's cold enough, and then stick the glass into the refrigerator, or do the same thing with a pitcher even. Another thing is to reuse a glass for a whole day. So this might not seem like it's saving water, but it really is, because if you're just drinking water or you're drinking the same thing all day, just keep using that same glass because, what's the harm in using it for one day, especially if it's water? It's not going to get sticky or anything like that. And then you won't have to wash that glass as many times. So can you imagine if every time you took a glass of water, you put it in the dishwasher or put it in the sink to be washed, your dishes would really pile up. So this is a good way to save water and your time. Compost food waste instead of putting it into the garbage disposal. So composting is great because you don't have to put it in the garbage disposal or in the trash can. And we are actually selling compost bins because we're trying to get people to use them instead of putting it in the garbage disposal or having the food waste end up in the landfill. As Americans, we do waste a lot of food, and so composting is a great way to utilize that food waste. So for example, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So composting food waste, like I said, it prevents the food waste from going into the garbage stream to the landfill, which it doesn't need to be there. And it also makes it so that that food waste is usable to you, so you can use it as an addition to soil to help things grow. So it's got a lot of organic matter in it and everything like that once it breaks down. For saving water, putting it in the garbage disposal, you have to run the water when the garbage disposal is going, so that ends up wasting quite a bit of water. So composting is a great alternative to that. Another thing you can do, rinse vegetables in a bowl of water instead of running it under the tap. So as you're running them under the tap, that uses up a lot of water. If you just fill up a bowl with water and stick the vegetables in it and then, dump that water out, or actually use that water to water, household plants or something like that, it's fine for that. Then your vegetables will be clean and you're not using as much water. Steam vegetables instead of boiling them. This is a good alternative. Steaming vegetables actually keeps more of the nutrients in the vegetables than boiling does, and it uses a lot less water. Let's see if I still, yep, I have some more. Okay. Some more hints for the kitchen. Use a dishwasher instead of hand washing your dishes. Dishwashers will save 5,000 gallons of water a year, and this to me was the biggest thing, 230 hours of your time. So it takes a lot of time to wash dishes. So if your time is really valuable to you and you don't want to waste a lot of water, dishwashers are pretty much the way to go. Make sure that you run them full, though. You don't want to be running dishwashers partially full because that's still going to waste a lot of water. Another thing is not to rinse your dishes before you put them in the dishwasher. That'll save about 10 gallons per load. Install energy efficient appliances. If all households installed efficient appliances, we would save 3 trillion gallons of water per year, or about $18 billion. Install tap aerators. So what a tap aerator is it's something that goes on your faucet that combines air with water, which divides the flow of water and also reduces the amount you're using. The last thing is to check your faucet during Fix a Leak Week, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. So I think we're moving on to the bathroom. All right, so saving water in the bathroom. Over half of the water use in your home is in the bathroom. So some tips for things you can do: take short showers instead of baths. So a lot of people are surprised that showers, because the water's running continuously, that showers use less water, but they actually do. Don't wash your hair daily. It's better for your hair, and it saves some water. Or turn off the water while you're washing your hair. If you can't bear to go a day without washing it, you can just turn off the water while you're washing your hair. That way it's not rinsing out as you're trying to wash it anyway. Wash your face in the shower instead of doing it separately. Don't run water while you're brushing your teeth. I think everyone's probably heard that one, but it's good to be reminded of. And then the last thing, avoid flushing things that could go in the trash, like facial tissues. Every time you flush something like a facial tissue, that's taking however many gallons it takes to flush down with it. So it's really unnecessary to flush every time you blow your nose. And facial tissues are also not really meant to go down the drain. They're meant to be thrown away. And there's a really good video that we actually posted to our blog about that, about different things. And even if they say flushable, they're not necessarily good to flush because they can end up clogging up the pipes, and they don't break down the same way that toilet paper does. So don't flush things that could go in the trash like facial tissue. Let's see what else we have. Okay. Other things you can do: install low flow shower heads. Replace faucets with efficient models. Install efficient or dual flush toilets. And check for toilet leaks. So we'll talk now about Fix a Leak Week. So this is a week in March where people are encouraged to check for leaks in their homes. 1 trillion gallons of water leak in the U.S. per year. Each year, the amount of water leaking in one home could fill a swimming pool. If you check for leaks, it could save you over 10% on your water bills. So one way that you can check for leaks is to check your meter, and then you don't use any water for 2 hours. And then afterwards, check your water meter again. And if it's changed a lot, then you'll know you have a leak. A way to check if your toilet is leaking is to put a drop of food coloring in the toilet tank and then check a little bit later to see if that same color ends up in that toilet bowl. So those are just some tips for Fix a Leak Week. A running toilet can use 200 gallons or more per day. So that the bathroom can use a lot of our household water. Let's see, is that, nope, that's laundry. Okay, so we'll just talk a little bit more about some things in the bathroom. So in 1992, the EPA mandated that there be no more than 3.5 gallons per flush. After 1995, faucets use 40% less water. New shower heads, anything that's prior to 1995, they use 50% more water. So newer fixtures and appliances are really important. I mean, obviously a lot of people probably won't want to replace things that aren't broken, but as they break, you really should replace them with more efficient things, or if you have the money and the inclination, replacing things with newer fixtures is important. Okay, so we'll go on to laundry now. So saving water while doing laundry, a big thing is to don't run partially full loads. Laundry takes up about 23% of home water use. Each load can use between 27 to 54 gallons. So you really don't want to run a partially full load because that'll be using all of this water for not as many clothes. Select the appropriate load size on the machine. It's not going to get it any cleaner just because you put that it's a large load when really it's a small load. It'll just waste a lot of water. A good way to do this is you can purchase machines that weigh your laundry and then decide based on that how long the cycle will be and how much water to use. Another thing you can do is upgrade to energy efficient machines. So a water efficient laundry washer, can save up to 7,000 gallons per year. So that's quite a bit of water. So the next thing we'll just cover everywhere else that you can think of. One thing you can do is install a pressure regulating valve. Insulate your hot water pipes so that you're not running the water for as long before it gets hot. If you have a pool, cover your pool so it doesn't evaporate in the heat and the sun. And so you don't have to refill it as much. Water plants with old aquarium or other used water. So I talked about this when we talked about rinsing vegetables and things like that. When you're using water for something else, you can use that old water to water your plants so you don't have to get water straight from the faucet, kind of dual purpose water that way. So we'll just talk about some energy efficient and water efficient fixtures and appliances. So there are two programs that I'm going to talk about. The first one is Energy Star. Energy Star was established in 1992. It's through the U.S. EPA. It's a voluntary program that helps save and protect save money and protect the climate through energy efficiency. Energy Star washers use 70% less energy and 75% water, 75% less water than 20 years ago. So it's not just energy, it also helps out with water. The other program is WaterSense, which is also an EPA program, which requires 20% greater water efficiency. It's a partnership program that helps consumers choose water-efficient choices. Things with the WaterSense label, like I said, have to have at least 20% more water efficiency than the market standard or the market average, I believe. Actually, I'm not sure on that. I can show you the WaterSense and the Energy Star website, so we'll look at that quickly. All right. So here's WaterSense. They've saved 487 billion gallons of water since 2006. So here's just a what is WaterSense. So that just tells you what it is and what it does. There's also a calculator on here to calculate your savings, find rebates near you, start at home. There's lots of fun little games for kids. And then this is the Energy Star one. This just tells you about Energy Star, energy efficient products. You can look for them. Home assessment tools, things like that. So if you're interested in your efficiency and your water savings, you can really just check out these websites and find all kinds of information. All right, back to this. So that's just some information about efficient fixtures and appliances. So that is all of the information for today. If anyone has any questions, you can type them in. I don't actually see any, so I guess we will move on. All right, well, thank you for attending our webinar. I hope it was helpful and you got some good tips for saving water in the home and in your lawn. You will be entered into a drawing for a free compost bin if you attended this live. Some of our upcoming webinars, August 13th, we have BMPs to slow water down. August 27th, we have SAMP, the importance of wetlands in Superior. September 10th, I can't believe we're already looking at September, we have actually I believe that date has changed. I think we changed illicit discharge, only rain down the drain. That will be July 23rd. And also in July on the 9th, we have Lake Superior Day. So we'll have a webinar. Our next one is the 9th, Lake Superior Day. We'll be talking about what's happening for Lake Superior Day, what it is, what the Superior Binational Forum is. We'll have Lissa Radke from the Binational Forum presenting that webinar. All right, well, thank you for attending. I hope that you join us for more.